He's multi-talented.
Very multi.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order, 6:30. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Seating of alternates, I will seat Thad for Bill Spencer.
Or Donna. Either or.
And we have an opportunity for public participation. If there's anyone with us in the audience that would like to bring forth an item to the commission that's not already on this evening's agenda, this is your opportunity to do that. All right, there is none. Let's see, new business. We have a renewal registration from O&G Industries. That has been received in the office, and we will be scheduling site visits for that prior to our next month's meeting. Any other comments you want to make on it or anything? Or?
Yeah, so I'll get into this later on as we touch base on the aquifer protection updates. But
Okay.
ultimately, this is a renewal of activities that have been going on at O&G. They're coming to us to renew those and continue along with them. We'll ultimately, like I said, need to schedule a site visit and also have
Okay.
Deep present there for that. So we'll coordinate that, and I'll give an update
We'll have
later on in the meeting.
The
We'll
deep
have-
application?
Yeah, so ultimately, the state representative would also be there on site with us, as this
Okay.
is one of our first renewals in quite some time. And they're gonna help us out, point out some different, things that we'd be looking for, and just be present with us for their site report as well.
We still have
That's
some
a first-
questions
that's
for
a
sure.
first.
In that annual report, did they ever submit anything to you for, remember we were out at O&G, we were talking about with them, their annual reporting for deep?
Yes, so we did receive their annual report for the detention basins themselves.
Okay.
So that's been reviewed and no
Okay.
issues with that. But this is just to continue those activities that are on the Southbury side.
Okay.
All right, old business, we have application 1771, that's 333 Main Street. We did have a site visit out there with several members. Applicant is here. And if you'd like to bring us up to date with any additions or changes since our last meeting,
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
I've got reduced size, unfortunately not enough for everyone.
Okay, well, we can share.
I do have enough. Hello, good evening. Megan Miller, applicant. We did discuss the project when it was received, and we had the scheduled site walk. Thank you. Sorry. Megan Miller, Civil One, again for the record. There have been some minor changes since the application has been received by you. There was a letter provided and via email on the 16th. We did receive that letter and responded, and we have revised the plans accordingly. There are red revision clouds around those changes in front of you, along with a response letter. Most of these changes were pertain to mostly zoning issues, and mostly items that would be located on further construction documents. This before you is a permitting set, so it doesn't go into the level of minutia of like thickness of type of asphalt, things like that, and doesn't really have an impact to the wetland area, which is located off our site. But we did respond to a lot of the comments, added further detail. Comments were appreciated, and we'll make sure to incorporate them into further construction documents when that time comes. We did also receive another letter this morning at 9 o'clock. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to revise the plans accordingly. That was the letter from the February 9th. So I did review those comments, and I can address them at tonight's meeting. Again, mostly, those comments were mostly about the maintenance and of the stormwater system. And so one of the comments was clarification about the invert of the stone and then the elevation of the chambers. The inverts listed on our plans are the bottom of the stone, so it's the the lowest part of our system. So when we say invert a stone, that's the bottom of our system, and then you put down stone, and then you put your chambers or your galleys on top of that. And then it's surrounded by stone. There are details on our plans showing that, just for clarification, exactly what that invert is.
Is that in the area of the detention system?
Yes, these
Okay.
are specifically to our stormwater detention system.
Okay.
And then there were additional questions that were asked about if the chambers do get accumulated by sediment and oils, what is the impact on the further use of that system? In our plans, we do have a schedule of maintenance for the system. So we recommend annual inspection and by a licensed contractor. And one of the notes too was a typo. There was semi-annual reports. Agreed, we should do annual reports. That would be then presented to the town land use office. That is, again, a typo. I just haven't been able to revise it based on when the comments were received. But our plans show that this system, after it's been constructed, should be maintained, looked for soils, trash, debris, leaves are the biggest thing in New England, right? Filling into these catch basins. And we would recommend that it gets inspected annually and then taken care of. Additionally, some of these comments were regarding what happens if this doesn't happen and it gets into the system. Certainly, not maintaining the stormwater system is going to impact the further use of that stormwater system. That's not what our recommendations, that's why we have it as recommended to be maintained. Additionally, though, we do have a hydrodynamic separator that would treat the stormwater entering the system. So that uses a vortex of water, so trash and debris would settle into this chamber, which then can be cleaned much easier than if you can clean an underground stormwater system. I would recommend, we can change it on our plans as a condition of approval, is to add inspection ports on the chambers, as well as we have what we call an isolator row, which is when you wrap the first chamber, the first row of chambers of the stormwater system in this synthetic fabric, which allows water to continue to pass through into your system, but limits sediment from entering your entire system. So if it does get clogged up, you can then open up that inspection port, have a licensed contractor blast it out, clean it, suck it up, any garbage. So it's a great recommendation. We would be happy to add that onto our plans as, a condition of approval, which would then again further protect the system for the future. And then again, a couple little questions about just drafting issues. We would be more than happy to make those changes for the final plans that would be submitted to the town.
Megan, I have one other question, if I may.
Absolutely.
The concern that I had when developing these comments was that because there's such a shallow elevation between the stone and the invert of the pipe for each successive chamber, as sediment built up, what impact would the additional flow of water, because it's technically now not being retained in a previous section, is it going to surcharge the existing drainage system on Main Street South that the entire system will be emptying into?
So are you suggesting that this system would be filled with sediment?
The possibility exists if we get a large enough rain event, several times a year, because now, right now, everything is working naturally because it's basically an open field. Yes,
Yeah.
you have the galley system, the existing galley system that's there. and everything is infiltrating down into the ground naturally and making its way to the galley systems and then on its way out. Now you're gonna be having paved surfaces, you're gonna have 30-some-odd thousand square feet of roof that you're gonna be,
Yeah.
dumping water down into directly into the system rather than letting it infiltrate naturally.
Yeah.
So my concern was, is there enough depth between the top of the, or the elevation of the top of the stone and the invert of the pipe or the next galley system that's gonna take it out? Because it appears to be about 6 or 8 inches.
So it's modeled, so we run our storm events and we modeled the existing system and the connection with the proposed system with these types of elevations.
Okay.
And so in the stormwater engineering report that was provided, it has the tables of every storm event and the elevation of the water. So it is showing it being able to accommodate up to a 50-year storm event,
Okay.
if I'm correct. And to your point, maintenance is always something that needs to happen for any
I agree.
system.
I agree.
Absolutely,
I agree.
right? And so we have things that are on our system, like such as sumps, these cleaning, and again, the isolator row and the inspection ports, and the existing system already has inspection chambers, like manholes. So we'll continue to do that, of course.
Okay.
And great points brought up, definitely needs to be maintained too,
Okay,
throughout
thank
the
you.
system.
Any other questions? Oh, the pre-wash, that's a vortex, right?
It's a hydrodynamic separator, yeah,
Okay, what is the recommended maintenance period on that device?
annual. So
It's just annual?
It's like a structure, so it's any catch basin, you open that up, you look, clean it.
Have a different, for some reason, I was thinking they added,
Predominantly,
Here?
I mean, if,
is that cleaned out with a suction device?
Correct.
Same as the catch basins?
if we were talking about, they have these in this city of New Haven. If we were talking about New Haven, I would absolutely recommend a different maintenance schedule when you have a lot of trash.
Yeah.
This is from a typical commercial development where you're not having
We have
water.
approved a few others
Yeah.
of these over the years. I can't really think exactly where they are right now, but the only reason I was asking that question.
The manholes are labeled very clearly that this is like a Contech, so if you're walking past it, you can see it, and so it's more, it doesn't just blend in as any type of manhole. But yeah, annual inspection and maintenance would be recommended.
Any comments you'd like to bring forward before we go any further on this, or?
No, I mean, a lot of it has been kind of talked about, and we know that there's no wetlands on site, there's no upland review area on site, so from this point, the commission's got to consider what's before them as those facts.
And have you had a chance to look at their maintenance projections or schedules or whatever?
Yeah, so the zoning commission is looking at that, and it's been a recommendation from the planning commission to have that addressed. So they will also be having that discussed at their commission meeting to have that as ultimately a condition of approval. So that's outside of the wetlands purview, but also, as we kind of talked about per Tom's recommendation, we can also provide a recommendation to the zoning commission, similar to how the planning did, with any additional recommendations that we might have with concerns or items that might want to be addressed.
Any additions to this resolution that are site-specific for this application, or this is pretty much
Nope,
the
so
bullet?
those that are on there are typical 9 boilerplate ones relating to inlands and wetlands, just basic maintenance, best management practices to be utilized, and it's stating the documents that we've received and the information that we've received, but ultimately, with the Wetlands Commission, there's no wetlands to be regulated on site, and there's
Correct.
no upland review area that the project is within.
Yep. All right, any other questions for the applicant, anybody? What's your pleasure, want to make a motion? or-
Motion to approve.
according to our resolution, draft resolution.
Draft resolution.
All right, do we have a second?
So for the record, Dan, you motioned?
Yes,
Motion. Yep.
and Jason has seconded it. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, the new one. Yep. Yeah, going up the, and it's not the entire place, it's a certain percentage of it. And there was like Matula Meadows, I think there's that sort of
Next
thing going
one.
on. There is, that's it, so.
All right, application
far as I know.
1772, this is Poverty Road Bridge Replacement, Town of Southbury applicant. We did have a site visit out there, same day as the last one. There were no representatives from the applicant there, so we couldn't really garner any additional information other than what we brought with us. Do we have a representative here this evening?
So we have Greg, who's joining
Okay.
us remotely.
All right.
He's put together a presentation, but
Before we
Tom?
start, Carl, I need to recuse myself
Okay.
on this application as a result of my involvement in this project for my prior employer.
Okay, duly noted. If you would
Yep.
vacate the table for the duration of that, appreciate it.
Carl, do you need to sit anyone for Tom?
We're all seated.
Very good. Greg, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, not a problem at all. Perfect.
Great.
so,
Can you see me?
hang on, Greg, just for a quick thing, Greg's gonna get reverb, so if everyone could turn off their mics while he presents. Thank you.
Floor is yours, Greg.
Thank you. And whoops, that's not the right one. And just for the record, we were on site for the site walk. We were over at Ewell Park. Deandra actually came by afterwards and spoke to us and let us know about some of the commission's concerns. So hopefully I've done a pretty good job of incorporating those into the presentation. Give me a second. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Greg Garrish with VHB. We're the consultant liaison engineer for the project to replace bridge number 5029. This is state project number 130-192, and this bridge conveys the Pomperaug River under Poverty Road in Southbury. This is a town project with the town of Southbury as the applicant. The project is administered by Connecticut DOT and is fully federally funded. As such, the project has received thorough review up to this point. It's been several years to get to where we are, and we've been to an interagency meeting, and deep Army Corps, OEP, fisheries have all commented, and their guidance and recommendations have been incorporated into the design of the project. As well as, the hydraulic design has been fully flushed out and is basically under final review by DOT. And before I carry on, just want to make sure you guys can see the title screen that's being shown with the bridge. I probably can't hear you because your mics are off.
Nope, we're all set, Greg. We got that cover
Okay.
page.
All right, great. All right, so here's the project location, just to show where we're located. So the project is located 0.6 of a mile, or 0.6 of a mile west of Main Street South. I'll do an aerial on the next slide so you can see a little more zoomed in. So the project site located over Pomperaug, the Pomperaug River with George Ewald Park to the northeast. There's a town-owned detention basin to the southeast, and we have the golf course to the northwest, as well as condos and private residences. So the purpose and need for this project is to replace the functionally substandard one-lane facility and provide a structure in a state of good repair that's capable of meeting current load rating and highway design standards. Really, the biggest push for this project is the one-lane facility and traffic issues involved with it supporting significant amount of traffic for this size road. The existing condition, a little more details. The year it was built was 1967. There was a reconstruction project that was basically a deck replacement in 1989, and the superstructure is a steel beam structure. It sits on stone masonry gravity abutments with unknown foundations that likely sit on bedrock. There's a single lane of traffic, stop controlled, as you can see in the bottom left corner. I'm sure many people are familiar with this, and it supports nearly 4,400 vehicles per day. The structure length is 108 feet. The clear span, so the span over the river, is 71.5 feet. As you can see, the abutments basically sit in the river as it currently is. So keep note of that, as we'll be expanding the bridge. You can see that there's large riprap in front of the abutments currently to protect those. So the current curb to curb width is 12 feet. There's a 3-foot sidewalk on the north side, aluminum traffic rail, and the drainage area is 75.25 square miles. So decent flow through this bridge. So a couple of additional photos of the bridge. This is upstream on the north side looking south. So this is the inlet side. On the left is, angler access for fishing and access to the park. This is the downstream side looking upstream back with the golf course on the left and the old park on the right. Take note that the Pomperaug River flows north to south. We've got a couple additional pictures here of bank full condition on the right. There's been plenty of higher flow events recently in the area. This is one that reached bank full. I think there's been others that have gotten a bit higher. The left photo is a low flow situation where you can see some of the boniness of the river with the large stones. This is looking downstream, same event on the right with the bank full flows, and on the left with low flows and the boniness, and really there's bedrock just below. A lot of this kind of topping of stream bed material. There's a view looking to the east towards Ewald Park, so across the bridge, the one lane just behind us is the intersection. I don't know if I had another, here we go. So there's a couple steps back looking at the intersection, Poverty Road going up the hill, and this did limit how far we could widen the bridge to this side. So basically there was, the bridge is going to be widened to 95 feet and minimally towards the west and mostly towards the east because of the intersection and private property. And here's a view looking west across the bridge and the 3-foot sidewalk. So the site is in a FEMA flood zone with the FEMA floodway. The project has received approval from the town of Southbury floodplain manager. And that was included in the submitted documents for the project, the application. So here's the proposed site plan. The highlighted lines are the regulatory lines. There were no wetlands delineated on site. We had sub-consultant, an environmental engineer, soil scientist delineate the site. I believe that delineation was also included in the submitted documents. The blue lines is ordinary high water. The red line is the 100-year existing floodplain elevation with, you're seeing the new bridge overlaid on the existing survey. And so those floodplain lines basically run to the inside of the abutments where those current abutments are, so you can get an idea of where the new bridge sets back, with the new embankments kind of behind and the abutments behind that. You'll see more on the next slide, but the green line is the existing floodway. So a couple of things to note here. The overhead utility lines will be permanently relocated to the north side of the structure. You can see that here, and that's really due to the widening of the bridge. There's, with the park property to the northeast, could not really widen to the north or to the west. So without getting into significant permitting and affecting the park property. So the widening of the structure to get 2 lanes, and the full cross section is mostly widened to the south and to the east, as you'll see in the elevation view. But another thing to mention is the drainage. So because there's a roadway realignment here, you can see the existing bridge footprint almost in the middle, on really to the north side of this bridge. So the alignment is shifted slightly to the south, and that's really to smooth out the curves and meet highway standards. And with that shift, all of the current drainage needs to be replaced. So in doing so, on the east side, you see a couple of pipes and catch basins that are really replacements of the existing basins, and a little upsize on the south side to capture some more of the drainage, or more of the runoff, and get that water off the road quicker and have less inundation of the roadway during storm events. As well as on the west side, something else to note is that as part of the project, Poverty Road on the north side, the steep area that runs up the hill at the intersection with East Hill Road will be closed, and guide rail will be run in front of that for the closure. There will be appropriate signage installed at East Hill Road, and it'll be pavement will be removed, topsoil placed and grassed, so runoff will also be dissipated coming down Poverty, the steep section of Poverty Road. The 3-foot cart path will remain. The golf cart path will remain, and but that that grassed area will mitigate runoff. It'll slow velocities, and another catch basin will be added there to pick up runoff, as well as a couple other catch basins and pipes near that intersection. Really, they're moved, a couple are moved back from where they were closer to the existing bridge, and then a couple more added, and that's to get more runoff and off the road quicker and mitigate ponding. That's been an issue here during some storm events. Overall, though, the drainage area to the existing outfalls has not changed. A drainage report was completed and under review, and I've looked at it as a hydraulic engineer, and the existing pipes, outfall pipes capacity is sufficient for the runoff that the system experiences. Just added some additional drainage structures to mitigate ponding and decrease the depth of water and runoff on the roadways during storm events. So that's the existing outfalls are used, and that's probably about it on this slide. I guess one other thing to mention is that a portion of Ewald Park will be repaved, as you can see in this northeast section. It'll be repaved following the project. And there is going to be temporary or access maintained to the park during the project. All right, so moving on, this is the section view. So on the left side, you can see the the sidewalk. So there'll be a 5.5 foot sidewalk. So that's, you know, we're going greater than the current 3 foot sidewalk to allow some more use. And we're going to 2 14-foot lanes. It's really kind of a 12-foot lane with shoulders. Shown here is 14-foot lanes. The existing out to out width is 19.5 feet, and the proposed is 35 feet. So widening, as we said, mostly to the south or to the right side. That's the deck section. And then an elevation view. So this is looking the downstream side, looking north. So looking upstream. So there's a lot to consider here. The replacement bridge is designed to follow Army Corps and DEEP guidelines to return the stream crossing to a pre-existing natural condition. The project is, as we said, has been taken to interagency meetings, and we've met and discussed with state and federal regulators and incorporated recommendations into the project design. So this includes widening the clear span to at least 20% greater than the bankful width, or 1.2 times bankful width is an Army Corps best management practice. The 90-foot clear span exceeds that. So the proposed bridge will be 95 feet wide, which, you know, spans the natural channel and allows the proposed embankments that you see here with riprap to match the upstream and downstream profile of the existing channels, which is a great benefit to the environment. So this also, increasing the clear span, increases the hydraulic opening. So this decreases flooding and improves the efficiency of flows through the bridge. Scour isn't really an issue here, as the new foundations will be set on bedrock. As you can kind of see here, the little, you know, crisscross lines below this really extends all the way. We just didn't show it all the way across to not muddy up the the plan sheet too much, but it does extend all the way across. That solid line across the bottom is the bedrock that the foundations will be sitting on. And you know, on the right side where it says existing grade, if you can see my cursor, there is some stream bed material existing there. So there are areas upstream and downstream where there's some stream bed material, and it's not all rock. There's actually a bit of a scour hole, but it's just to erosive velocities where it's gone down to bedrock through the bridge. But there is still some sediment upstream and downstream, and it can't go any further than that. So there's no danger to the abutments, or the new abutments, proposed structures that are sitting on bedrock due to scour. So large riprap will be installed to protect the embankments and abutments, so that the upstream and downstream channel that is now connected with these new abutments, as these abutments are set back a bit from where the existing abutments are. The existing abutments are shown in the dashed gray lines on either side. You know, on the right side here, the east side, where these toe boulders will be installed and pinned to the bedrock, and that's to stabilize the riprap that is going to be set behind it to stabilize the embankments. The riprap will be supplemented with stream bed material to fill in the voids, and that's to lock them in even further and keep these stabilized, as well as allow wildlife passage below them. The hoofed animals like it a little better when you know, they're not getting stuck between the rocks. So that's what these wildlife shells are for on either sides, allow critters to pass safely under the bridge without having to go over the roadway. So, and those wildlife shells also allow inspection of the bridge, as biannual inspection is required for this bridge. And upon completion, all disturbed areas within the limits will be stabilized and restored. All right, so water handling. So in order to remove the structure, traffic will be detoured around the site, so the road will be closed. Poverty Road will be closed for, basically to the intersections in either direction. With local traffic really allowed to the park only. A debris shield will be installed below the existing deck to prevent debris from falling into the river as they remove the superstructure. Once they've done that, the water handling cofferdams, what you see as the blocks on either side, will be installed in front of either a existing abutment to allow the work to be completed in the dry, meaning it'll be dewatered through sediment basins. You can see temporary dewatering basins on either side. And that will allow for the installation of the new foundations, allow for the removal of the existing foundations, and then the installation of the new foundations, the substructures, so the abutments, the embankments, and riprap. So all of the foundational lower part of the bridge structure will be installed behind confinement. And you can see on this plan sheet as well that the zigzaggy, block line is the sediment control system, which we'll have another slide for, but you can see that it ties into the water handling at ordinary high water. So about the 2-year storm. So, that'll keep those areas dry up to a 2-year storm, which is the design for the project. So water handling allows for dewatering soil retention. Pumping will occur through appropriate filtration basins, tied into sedimentation control systems at the toe of engineered slopes to prevent infiltration of materials or increase turbidity into the watercourse. And the water handling cofferdams they're temporary. They'll be removed after the completion of in-water work. All right, so the wetlands and watercourse impacts, why we're here. The total watercourse impacts, temporary is 694 square feet. We've for this size project, we have really minimal impacts to the wetlands and watercourse. And so 694 square feet is for the water handling. It's the yellow shaded area. And that's basically the area that'll be dewatered. So, the flows will be constricted slightly for approximately a 13-week period is what is expected or estimated for the in-water work to be completed. The permanent impacts are 246 square feet. As we said, there's no wetlands on site. Those permanent impacts are really for the installation of riprap and fill material. And then the Southbury upland impacts from the Pomperaug River measured 100 linear feet landward of ordinary high water is just under half an acre. And that's due to the replacement of the structure, roadway work. So the roadway will be repaved, the installation of the bridge structure, and embankments and incidental roadway work, as well as the drainage improvements that fall within that 100-foot window. And I'll note that areas for stockpiling materials will be determined by the contractor. That'll be any material that can't be stockpiled on site will be coordinated with the town. And so the contractor, that's up to the contractor and the town to work out. Once the contractor's on board, that'll be at an offsite location. likely somewhere nearby, as would be beneficial for, resources, time and money. The floodplain impacts, for the project. You can see this is it's a wide floodplain, and this structure and the area are all pretty low within the floodplain, so there are some floodplain impacts to the project. 325 cubic yards of cut and 540 cubic yards of fill, so there's 215 cubic yards of net fill associated with the bridge. And as we discussed, this has already been discussed with the floodplain manager and deemed that the project meets the town floodplain requirements. And as you mentioned, the widening of the bridge increases hydraulic efficiency and capacity, and because of that, the flood levels are reduced due to that increased hydraulic opening. So there will be no adverse effects to the Pomperaug River floodplain at the low point. So the low point is basically right around the entrance to UL Park. Currently, the 50-year is expected to overtop the roadway by about 2 feet. So I think there was a similar event to that back 2 years ago, when there was significant flooding in the Southbury and Oxford area, and there was some overtopping, I believe, of the roadway, and I know the flood levels got pretty high. In the proposed condition, we're looking at about 6 inches of that, 6 inches of water at the low point. So a significant decrease due to the increase hydraulic opening the structure, and we did as much as we could there to decrease the floodplains. You couldn't go further higher in elevation with the bridge, as that would create impacts to the intersection to the west as well as to the east. And as soon as you start raising the roadway, you push all the flood levels up. So by increasing the hydraulic opening, we really significantly decreased flood levels here. The 100-year flood would overtop the bridge in the existing condition, as expected or anticipated from hydraulic modeling, and the bridge will be dry for the proposed 100-year flood. All right, so sediment control plan, we've kind of gone over most of this already, but real quick, the impacts will be minimized through the Form 818. Basically, state regulations are required here, as this is a DOT administered project and is receiving federal funding. And so the contract will be held accountable to the 2024 Storm Quality Manual, as well as the 2024 Sediment Erosion Control Guidelines for Connecticut. A third-party construction, engineering, inspection and engineering services will be hired by the town as part of this project. So that is a third party that reports directly to the town and will oversee construction. So that's important to note, that there's that extra level of overseeing the project by a third party construction engineering firm and site inspection. Let's see.
Greg, I have a comment.
Sure.
So, and this is probably irrelevant, you could just shut it down, but the 4,600 cars that you counted on that roadway seemed a bit excessive, but is that due to the other bridge being out?
I believe, let's see, we go back with that, when that count was
4,600 coming out of Heritage Village?
yeah, I think that's a 2024 count. I don't know if the other bridge was out. I'd have to look into that. I think that there's been another inspection reports either prior or since that, and it was similar.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
But we could follow up with confirm that number is not due to another bridge being out. All right, just a couple more slides. As we said, we've had a lot of coordination with state and federal regulators, and as part of that coordination, Deep Fisheries was coordinated with, and for this bridge, unrestricted fish passages is being maintained. Well, this is no, there's no removal of a pier here, so that was held over from another. But due to the the open bottom structure, and there is a decreased bridge constriction, and there's unconfined in-stream work within the stream that is restricted from the period June 1st through September 30th. So outside of that time period, work must be confined, meaning behind cofferdams. Typically, that allows the installation of cofferdams. So typically, in the spring, depending on how quickly the contractor can get to it, the cofferdams will be installed in April or May, and then they can work behind confinement from the period of June 1st to September 30th. That confinement's not needed. Typically, it's maintained. But that is the deep requirement for fisheries for this site. And there is, of course, a diverse fish habitat at the Pomperaug River through this bridge, and that needs to be maintained. Deep NDDB, so National Diversity Database, or the state listed species. This is within an NDDB area. A final determination was received in January based on the project and permit plans, basically saying that there is no expected impact due to the proposed project. And Deep, we should be CT, Deep will be on site to relocate any protected species as part of the project. And there's notes alluding to that on the permit plan and as a requirement for the contractor and within the contract documents. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, any identified species, BMPs have been included to prevent any impacts to any identified federally listed species. And so SHPO and TIPO, so the State Historic Preservation Office and the Tribal Historic Preservation Office have been contacted and determined in July 2024 that no historic or tribal properties would be affected as part of the project. And for the permitting, just run you through Southbury Inland Wetlands and Watercourse is why we're here tonight. And we've already spoken to the floodplain manager and received that sign off. With the state, there's currently a deep flood a state flood management certification will be obtained for the project. That's in the works of being approved. That's for the hydraulics for the project. And flood flows, the deep pre-construction notification is currently required under the current general permit for Connecticut, and federally an Army Corps pre-construction notification is currently required, and that'll happen once the design is fully complete, which we are 90% design now, so we are nearing completion. And the one last thing to note is that the construction is anticipated to begin in October 2026 and last approximately 16 months. It's expected that in the 2026, you're just going to have clearing and grubbing and utility relocation, and then the bulk of construction would take place starting in the spring of 2027. And as we noted, the in-water work would be 13 weeks in 2027. And with that, presentation is concluded, and I will open it up for any questions.
There's a lot of information.
Thanks, Greg.
Who has questions?
I have one, but I don't know if this is the right forum for it. As anyone knows that drives over that bridge, it definitely slows down traffic, which is potentially a good thing. It's right next to the park and the school zone. Has there been any conversations around the fact that that's going to, the flow of traffic is going to increase, the speeds are going to increase, You know, is the town thinking about perhaps maybe putting some elongated speed bumps just to keep those speeds down, just around those areas where there's a lot of children and pedestrian traffic?
Would you like to address that, or shall I? Greg?
I mean, I can address it. It would be part of the highway design, and that wasn't identified as needing speed bumps due to the increased speed. Which it'll still be designed for the same 25 or 35 mile per hour through the site. So, you know, I think there's an expected significant increase, just increase it of allowing flow through. But if you have something to add, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, it has nothing really to do with the bridge itself. It's just that road, probably could be redesigned or widened, as the folks that wait for their kids at school, they line up on the side of the road. There's barely enough room for two cars to get through. So it's just going to be an interesting dynamic to see how this spins out, since now we have, a lot of elderly drivers coming down that hill pretty quick. With a wider road, not stopping, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that is probably an issue that's more properly brought to the town highway department or the planners. What you're querying about really is not affecting the wetlands, so to speak. So it's a viable concern, but
Wrong place.
yeah, kinda.
It's all right.
That,
Thank you.
Yes, we were talking when we were out there before, it was a few days ago, and there's some trees on both sides of the bridge in place now that are mature trees. They're not saplings or anything like that. So have you identified what's going to come down in terms of these trees that actually do a good job in holding the thing together?
Absolutely. Those are marked on the plans. These trees on the right side here, I do believe are in the area where the overhead utilities will need to be permanently relocated. And really, that's just a function of the necessity to widen the bridge and move those overhead lines to the other side of the bridge. That's the only place they can go. They can't go south because there's a detention center and private property, so that's where they have to go. And unfortunately, a couple of these trees, will be in that area that is needed for the overhead relocation.
any other question? Dan, you have anything?
You sort of touched on it as location of stockpiling, and I know that's up to the contractors from what I heard you say. Are we talking about at the park or going back to like the town yard altogether?
No, I mean, it's yet to be determined. That's the contractor works that out with the town once they're on board, and typically we'll find a nearby site. It could be at the park, it could be across the street. It's really, determined by the town where they want that to go. And, it makes the most sense to be nearby. But, well, like I said, it's not determined until the contractor's on board and works with the town.
Yeah, that's okay.
What we could do is we could add a condition in here that says the stockpile location could be coordinated once it's ultimately defined and everybody's comfortable with it. And that way myself can go out there, approve it, make sure they've got all the necessary erosion controls up as well.
We'll add that to our resolution. Any more? I've got a couple, Greg.
Okay.
If I understood you correct, the elevation of the deck is remaining the same? the height of the new deck is the same as the old deck?
Yes, I think it is slightly higher than the existing, but I think it's about 6 inches difference.
I did notice on the plan that the driveway going into the park will be raised a couple of feet.
Yes,
And the reason for that is,
the highway standards, to smooth the curve and, raise that low point up a little bit.
the low point being where you turn right at the stop sign to go into the park?
Yes.
Okay. Are you doing any kind of plantings or seeding any areas on this project? Or is it all just left as riprap or gravel?
There will be a grass established following the project. Other than that, there's no plantings that have been identified at this time.
Okay,
There's not a separate planting plan, but it will be reestablished with grass seed. Believe the,
like on all the areas where you're doing the riprap, or,
yes,
so then you will be
there's,
adding topsoil and seed at some point?
not on the riprap. On the areas where there is no riprap, there will be, fill in the voids of the riprap. But other than that, I don't believe that there is seed for the top of the riprap, but at Poverty Road, there will be topsoil and seed, and on the embankments where there's not riprap, there will be topsoil and seed.
Okay. You are increasing the area of the road, which of course increases, at least in a small amount, the amount of stormwater that you're collecting and releasing. Do the outlet structures and everything that are in place, I don't believe you're planning to change any of that. Do they appear to be in good condition and appropriately sized for the additional runoff?
Yes, and there's a drainage report that's been compiled and submitted to the hydraulics and drainage section of DOT for review, and will be reviewed by DEEP as well. And while there is some impervious added, as you noted, there's also impervious removed due to the section of Poverty Road
Okay,
that goes, right uphill, and that's, that pavement will be removed with topsoil seeded with wildflower mix.
okay. The last one, I think this is my last one anyway, the coffer dams, what form will they take? As you are shallow to bedrock, you're not gonna be putting pilings or anything in. Are they like sandbags or cement, big cement blocks, or what form do they take?
That is up to the contractor as well. But typically it would be, super sacks or large sandbags or, concrete blocks. As there won't be any sheet piling here due to the high bedrock.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, certainly.
So Greg, this is the administrator for the Land Use Department. I'm currently running the stream today, but I had a quick question, if you wouldn't mind going to the slide before wetland and watercourse impact. This is the one where you guys show the concrete washout.
For the wet. So the water handling, so these aren't concrete oh yeah, there is a concrete washout, yes. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so you guys do have that. So the reason I asked this question is I would imagine, given the road's gonna be gone, you're gonna have to hire a pump truck. You guys are gonna be staged on one side and you're gonna end up pouring for both sides of the bridge abutments, correct?
Correct, it'll be pointed for both, but they may be staged on either side, if that's what you're alluding to.
So you guys would be free pouring from the concrete trucks and not into a concrete pump truck?
That's a, that's a question for the, I can't answer that question
Okay. so
from a
the reason-
construction size.
The reason I ask
Go ahead.
is, depending on what side you stage this on is gonna depend on where the flow of traffic for those concrete trucks are coming. So they're either gonna come from Hild House or Oldfield Road, and I was curious if you guys had considered that traffic pattern and the trucks that would be traversing it in choosing that side for the concrete washout rather than the western side. Because if it's
I
on the
imagine
eastern
they'll be coming
side,
from both sides.
you imagine you are gonna be coming in from both sides.
Yeah,
Okay. So you're gonna need a concrete washout on both sides.
right.
Okay, so that'll have to be added to the plan.
Okay. We can do that.
All right, what's your pleasure?
I don't see any other issues with it, to be honest with you.
So do we need to modify our draft resolution for a couple elements?
Yeah, so there's a few elements. So we're going to add the condition about the stockpile locations being coordinated with myself.
Yep.
Once those are ultimately determined, we're going to include the quantity of trees that are moved to match the plan.
Is
And
that
then-
something in our approval, or is that
Conditional.
something to add to the plan?
No, it's already on the plan,
Okay.
but just clarifying that, that's comments specifying which trees are specifically being removed, so adding that onto there, not as a condition, but more as a whereas statement. And then adding a condition for an additional concrete washout to be installed to be shown on the plan on the eastern side of the bridge, and pending that final plan would be pending the approval.
I was gonna suggest perhaps a weekly update or report from the engineer in charge of the site.
Oh, you have an inspector there? I think, so that inspector will be out there conducting those reports. I'd just be curious to see, because they have the inspector reporting to the town. Curious who they're reporting to directly.
Okay. So do you want,
Clarity on who the inspector will be reporting to, because Deandra would be a critical component of
Right.
those reports and
Okay.
being able to respond to that. If in addition you
co-
want.
copy to others, or copy to yourself, or?
Yeah, but if
I
in
mean,
addition you want reports from the engineer, that would be separate from the inspector, and that could definitely be something you guys add. as well.
Does the inspector work for the engineer?
No, the inspector would be a third party
Oh,
hired
he's
by the town
independent.
as an independent, exactly.
I think we should have both then.
The third party inspector wouldn't be an engineer, or if they happen to carry that. Does anyone need clarity on that?
The way it works is that an inspection firm, the town of Southbury will put out a request for, letters of interest. The town of Southbury will put out a request for letters of interest from consultant engineering firms to do the construction inspection on this project. They go through a thorough interview process, and a firm is selected. At that point, the firm submits who the staffing on the project is going to be as far as a resident engineer, chief inspector, and ancillary inspection forces. Any correspondence would be directed from, at that point, the designer of record sort of steps aside and is only involved in the project when there are design issues. The inspection team hired by the town takes care of the day-to-day operations of the project and answers directly back to the town, which would be the first selectman and/or his designated contact point,
Okay,
which could be the land use office.
Sure.
It could be Deandra, it could be the public works director, or a combination of all.
okay,
And that's how that plays out.
okay, so we can write it up something like then weekly reports to be submitted from the inspector or the engineer's representative, something like that, so, right?
Just so the land use office is involved in receiving those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, any other concerns you have?
Nope, no other concerns on my end.
Any other questions or? Okay, shall we, would like to make a motion then, someone?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve, application 1772 according to our draft resolution with, modifications.
Correct.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, let's see, we are continuing our cease and correct. Would you like to come back and join us again? All right, we'll reseat Tom for the, adjournment. Yeah, would you like to go through any of this?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So, under other business, as I had spoken about earlier with the aquifer protection area, so the commission does have full authority to enforce those regulations. So the application that's before us for O&G, that's gonna go through the regular process. We'll schedule a site visit, go out there and inspect it. There are primarily two locations in Southbury that have the regulated activities in them. One being Southbury with, the Southbury Training School, which is controlled ultimately by the state. The other one being O&G. So this one's really the only renewal that we should get outside of small businesses that might be in operation. But those will be on a come-by-come basis as we see. But ultimately, there are some things that the commission does need to address in order to bring our regulations into compliance. The first one we're addressing as part of the zoning rewrite, which is pulling the aquifer protection area out of the zoning regulations. And then, let's see. And then the second one is that we have to revise our ordinances to align with the revisions that the state had made to their APA regulations. So we do have a list of revisions that were made back in 2010. So we will have to go and revise those. Currently, there's no necessarily action before the commission today, but this is something that will be upcoming, just so you guys are aware of it.
okay. Do you have any other, reports or notifications or anything you need to bring forward to us?
Nope, the activity over the winter has been relatively quiet in terms of minimal activity permits coming our way. So none have really been issued since the last meeting.
All right. You have a couple of pieces of correspondence noted. Any questions on that from anyone?
No bills and receipts.
No
We
bills.
did receive a letter from Stuart Summers, requesting the release of bonds for the Hemlock Hills subdivision. And that's based on the placement of the markers that were delineated per plan. So I did go out there, I did ultimately inspect them, as it was a condition of the wetlands approval for that. The Wetlands Commission has to vote to release those bonds.
Oh, all right. I'll make a motion then to release the bonds, that was posted for Hemlock Hills subdivision.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then thank you for that, everyone. We did receive a notice from Deep regarding the use of pesticides in Lake Zor. This is more of a notification process, and there's no action for the commission, but it is something I want to be bringing before them.
All right.
And then we've ultimately got 2 minutes to approve today. So we've got November 19th and January 21st.
Do we know if we have the appropriate members present to do that? At least 4? January 1, I was at that, you were at that one, right, Dan?
November 19th, I wasn't here.
I think January is good. November, I'm not sure.
November 19th.
Yeah, oh, 25.
Present, members present. I have Carl Hornbecker, Thad Bird, Dan Sluka, Donna Lesh, and Michael Loring. So we're missing.
We don't have that one. So we will approve minutes for the 21st of January anyway. We'll get one of them off of there.
All right, perfect.
All right, anything else, anyone?
We need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve the January 21 minutes?
Oh, we never did that before, did we? We never used to do that, but that's okay.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, done. We're getting there. Anything else, anyone? Okay, Tom, this is your chance to motion for adjournment. We brought you back.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, we brought you back for that.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, everyone.